Darren, the fixtures have been coming thick and fast over the last couple of weeks. What do you make of sort of the results over the last three matches and the importance of getting points on the board at home?
Yeah, I mean, once you start winning games and putting points on the board, then you want the games to come quicker because there's a confidence in the group at the minute and the players on the back of the last three games. So yeah, it's pleasing to do it at home because we're all aware that our home form's not been where we want it to be. So to have these three games and pick up 7 points is pleasing for everyone.
Looking back at the goals from Aldershot, how pleased were you with sort of the patterns of play before the goals, both sort of created from midfield and then going forwards and being clinical?
Yeah, I mean it's stuff that we work on that plays out in most games, to be honest. But what we're aware of, we haven't always taken them opportunities and been clinical enough. But certainly, in particular, the first goal the other night was a good pick out from Virginia, nice, calm, composed finish that we see Noor do a lot, but unfortunately does it mainly in training, and we need to see him do it a bit more on game day. But it was from what we see typical Noor in that moment, and a very good finish.
With sort of the vast number of fixtures in a short number of days, how important has it been with the amount of squad depth that you've now got at the squad?
It's been unfamiliar territory, in all fairness, because we've had obviously our season last year and early part of this season where the squad's not been as strong as we've wanted it to be. So now we're in a territory where we can rotate the team around, make sure that we're fresh without disrupting too much. So making one or two changes here and there just to give people opportunities and freshen it up. And then that obviously allows us late in games to make changes to freshen it up again as well. So it's been a real plus for us having a healthy squad, yeah.
And what's the messaging to those players that are being rotated and that are having to come off the bench and try and make an impact?
I think there's more of an understanding in football in the modern day game that it's a squad game. I do see a lot of understanding. Players are never going to be happy about being left out. It goes without saying, but there's a lot more understanding from the players nowadays that rotation happens. I know from my own time back in the day, you get a lot of players that would throw a few wobblies if they were left out, but it's very different nowadays. So they've been good as gold and they've remained focused, trained well. There's obviously a training program in place for people that don't start games, so they're all in a fit and healthy condition and raring to go.
When looking ahead at Saturday, what do you make of the challenge of facing Tamworth?
Very, very difficult, to be honest. The surface will be tricky. They've got a style of play that will always ask questions of you defensively. So in many ways, the last sort of 15, 20 minutes of the other night might stand us in good stead because we was a little bit backs against the wall, had to defend our box well, which we did. And I expect it to be very similar on Saturday. Their last questions of us got to stand up, and then we got to be good when we have our moments and when we have our time on the ball, and continue to look to be clinical when we get our chances.
Nice one, thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Darren, Tom for BBC Essex. So we mentioned the opportunity to rotate and bring players on during games now. We talk about starters and finishers in modern football. I was wondering how you decide who is going to be a finisher. Is it just when you need to get a goal, it's a more attacking player, and when you're holding on to something, it's a more defensive player, or is it more complicated than that?
It's not necessarily complicated, but each games give you different challenges. If you look at Rochdale game, for an example, we have our match prep. We're looking at a team that's going to spend equal amount of time with the ball. So you have to get your shape and your work rate off the ball right. So you know that the effort that you put in out of possession in a game like that, it will be key in 75th minute to freshen it up, to maintain your intensity levels. And then you go into certain games where you might be considering size of players and height of players because it will be a bit more physical or a bit more balls in the box, for example. So there's these little tweaks to maybe your setup and your defensive ideas. But what we've got is a lot of players that can playing all types of systems for us and all types of style of play. So it doesn't tweak too much what we do from an attacking point of view, but certainly defensively, you maybe just tweak little bits here and there.
In terms of during the week training, and obviously you've got Saturday, Tuesday a lot at the moment, but at this stage of the season, how do things differ in terms of the training compared to earlier in the season when you're trying to bed in those principles?
Yeah, I mean, we're very consistent with how we work. So I think players could comfortably sit here and tell you what a Saturday to Saturday week looked like and what a Saturday week looked like. We get a good balance of rest and recovery, and then some top-up sessions for the boys that maybe don't start the previous game. And then we're middle of Feb, end of Feb now. So at the end of the day, boys, you ain't looking to get them any fitter now. I don't think at this stage of the season you necessarily get fitter, but it's just about keeping them mentally sharp and physically sharp. So sessions are always intense, but you might just bring the clock down a little bit.
I said you win back Gus, obviously 13 goals this season, so good to chat to him again, incredible. But business end of the season, as you say, comes towards the end of February, playoffs within reach. Is there anything you can take from previous seasons into this stage of the season?
You can maybe look at the back end of last season and say we was, up until the defeat against Rochdale on the last day of the season, we was 15 unbeaten. So you'd like to think that we could replicate that this year and be strong at the back end of the season. Got a healthier squad, more numbers to pick from, so that's where the rotation comes into play. But the mentality now is got to remain sharp, and we've always been, since the minute we walked through the door, has been next game mentality. We don't look too far ahead. So on the back of 3 positive results, it's just about Tamworth now, and look no further than that.
And did everyone make it through this week okay in terms of injuries?
Yeah, apart from the gaffer, he's the only one who's a little bit rough at the minute. But no, everyone's fine. Listen, I think standard, you get little niggles along the way, like from a few kicks in the game and what have you. But no, we've got a clean bill at the minute, other than the sort of ones that have been out, Cav, Colin and Adam Crowther. So no, we're all right.
And on the goalkeeper situation, Kevin previously said you're looking to bring someone in, but obviously that's difficult because they know that Nick Hayes is probably going to start, and we're at end of February. Is there any developments in that?
No, not at the minute. We've got our eyes and ears open. We're still looking at that situation. Obviously, we've got Antsy with a wealth of experience, but not a lot of football in recent times. But no, we've got our eyes and ears open. But at the minute, it's Hazy and obviously Antsy in the background.